everybody, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to show you how to make these two gorgeous cards. I'm going to be using some new products from Spellbinders, and I'm going to show you some fun techniques to bring the backgrounds of your cards up to the next level. For the background of my first card, I'm going to use some paper glaze Luxe from Picket Fence Studios. There's 3 new colors out: Twinkle Lights, Clear, Silver, and Gold. These look beautiful on a background. They are great by themselves or using them with a stencil, which is what I'm going to do. Here I have the Kaleidoscope window stencil. This is a really pretty floral geometric stencil. It's great for backgrounds. Any kind of repeating pattern like this is really going to take your backgrounds up a notch. When I'm working with stencils and mixed media, I do like to use a repositionable spray on my stencils. It just helps to make sure that it adheres really well to your cardstock, so that way you don't get any of that mixed media kind of pushing underneath the stencil, because you're rubbing it with your palette knife and it's really easy to push that mixed media product underneath the stencil and you don't get quite as crisp of a line. Now certainly if you don't have repositionable spray, this is possible to do without it. I've done it many times, so don't be afraid of trying it even if you don't have the repositionable spray. You can use any kind of spray that you would like. Here I'm using some Scotch repositionable spray, but also Pixie spray is really popular. The other thing I like to do when I'm using mixed media is to use a piece of copy paper underneath my project. It makes it so much easier to clean everything up. It's not that hard to clean up off of your glass mat, but especially when I'm doing videos, it makes it a lot easier. Also, that repositionable spray that's on your stencil, when you cover up an A2 sized card panel with a 6x6 stencil, you're going to get a little bit of overhang with your stencil. This is good because it allows you to adhere the sides down of your stencil without having to use any extra tape. So I've gone in and I've put down all of my product, and now I'm just making sure to smooth it out with the edge of my palette knife, and I can peel up my stencil. Do keep in mind you want to clean these off pretty quickly. If you don't have access to a sink nearby, you can always put just a little dish with some water and some liquid soap in it. Worst case scenario, you can also wrap them with a damp paper towel until you get a chance to go to the sink to wash them off. For my main elements, I'm using the Kaleidoscope Arch sentiment stamps as well as the stitched Kaleidoscope Arch dies. So I'm going to start out here by stamping 2 of the stamps. I'm using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne pigment ink. This is a really dark, crisp black ink. I love it for sentiments. And you're going to see this is a fun set because it has these little arches that cut out your sentiments. So I'm getting that lined up and cutting it out. And then I'm going to do my center sentiment, which is also from the set. This one says Make a Wish, and I'm going to cut it out with a little banner die. I'm going to get all of my florals ready. These are all dies that come out of the stitched Kaleidoscope Arch dies, and I've done a set of the florals in 3 different colors, and then I've done a set of the leaves and stems 3 times in white cardstock. Now you're going to see here I've chosen to use a couple of colors of Concord and 9th cardstock. I'm using Aqua Sky, Peacock, and Blueberry. For the card panel that we did with the mixed media, I did that in Sea Glass. So I'm using blues and blue greens. And now I'm going to put together all of my florals. These are really easy to put together. I do recommend using some kind of wax pickup tool that makes the whole process a lot easier. But you can see all you need to do is put the little white centers on top of the florals with some liquid glue. and then you just adhere those to the stems. So now I'm going to have 3 sets in, one in each of these colors, and it's going to make the front of the card really dynamic when I go in and add it behind my main element, which is going to be the sentiment. I stuck with a pretty simple color scheme here, but you could do these flowers in a rainbow of colors and they would look beautiful. So our stenciled piece has completely dried. Look at that gorgeous shine. I love the clear twinkle lights. They're just so pretty because you can still see the color of the background, but you get all that added sparkle. I used the smaller of the 2 rectangles from the Gina K Designs Master Layouts die set in order to cut the stenciled piece. And then for that nice thin border around it, I used the slightly larger rectangle from that set, and that is the Peacock cardstock. So I've glued down the stenciled piece on top of that Peacock cardstock, and now I can glue the whole thing down to my A2 sized card base, and that's going to give us that nice little white border all the way around the edges. Next, I'm going to take my 2 sentiment pieces that I stamped out and cut with the arch pieces, and I'm going to glue those together. You just line them up like so, and then you can take your smaller sub-sentiment that's cut with the banner, and that's going to go right across the center so you don't see that overlap line from the 2 arches being glued together. I did decide to go ahead and pop up my center line with a piece of foam tape to add a little bit of dimension, but you could also accomplish that with some scrap cardstock. Now I'm going to use foam tape to pop the whole thing up on the front of my card because I think dimension is everything and it just looks beautiful. One of my favorite ways to use small die-cut florals is to tuck them behind some kind of main element. So with this set, it's my sentiment, so I'm going to go around on the edges and tuck in the florals. Now you can do this in lots of different ways. What I like to do is to go in with some tweezers, kind of tuck things in here and there, and you can use glue. You can also use foam tape. I'm going to be using some adhesive foam squares here and there to help support and pop up some of those pieces. And you could go all the way around whatever your center element is, or you could come in on the diagonal, which is a look that I really like. So I'm putting all of my floral and leaf pieces in the top right hand side and then also down on the bottom left hand side. You could use press and seal to help with this as well. You could go ahead and arrange everything and then press the press and seal down, pull everything out, add your glue, and then put it in that way. It's a little tricky to use press and seal when you already have your center element down though, so it really just depends on how you've decided to put together your card. But because these florals have such thin stems, it was actually really easy to tuck everything in as I liked it. Now when you're working with a couple of different colors like this, you do want to try and balance your colors. You don't want to have a lot of one color on one side of the diagonal and then a lot of a different color on the other side of the diagonal. It can kind of make things feel off balance. So I tried to get a good mix of the 3 different colors that I used to cut out the floral pieces. And then the white leaves and stems also helped to create that balance, and it kept everything looking very calm, cool, and serene. Now in real time, this did take me a little bit of time to do, and I know that this process is not for everyone. So if you're not into the whole finicky small die cut scene, you don't have to get as fancy as me. You also could just do all one color, and that would make the process of arranging so much easier. So there is the finished card. I really love how that background plays off of those floral colors. For our second card, I am breaking out my BetterPress letterpress, and I'm going to go ahead and secure a piece of the letterpress paper on there. I like to use highlighter tape. It just goes right on the top plate, and the highlighter tape does not tear that gorgeous cotton paper, so it's a great tape to use. And then I'm going to use here the Kaleidoscope Flowers press plate, which is this beautiful, super detailed press plate. I love it. And then I want to show you guys this. I got this cool magnet that helps me move around my pieces and arrange them on that bottom base. Because that bottom base is magnetic and sometimes it's kind of hard to push or move your piece once it's down on there. But I got this magnet and it helps me center things, which is really nice. By the way, I will link down below in the description to everything that I'm using today if there's anything that you want to take a closer look at. If you're not familiar with the BetterPress, I'll link up here in the top right hand corner to a live that I did, which goes over the BetterPress and shows all the different parts of it and how it works. Essentially what you do with the ink is you kind of push and then twist a little bit, and that's going to get the ink down onto the plate for you. Here I'm using some of the French Blue BetterPress ink, and then I'm going to come in at the top with Wild Berry. This is a great way to add interest to your background is by blending two inks together. The BetterPress ink works really well for this. Now you don't have to use BetterPress ink on these plates, but it is formulated to give you a really nice ink impression. So thus far, I'm really liking the BetterPress inks. I'm probably going to buy some more in other colors as well because I only have a few different colors at this point in time. I have experimented with using dye ink as well as some pigment ink on the BetterPress plates. I've been able to get most inks to work, some work better than others, so don't let that hold you back. You can use those inks you have in your stash. You can use the paper you have in your stash. Just that the cotton paper tends to work a little bit better and give you that nice, crisp, beautiful impression. So these two colors have blended together really well in the middle. So now we're going to have pink, purple, and blue. If you want to do this technique at home, two primary colors work really well for this. So you could use yellow and blue. That's going to give you green. You can use blue and red, which is going to give you the purple in the middle like I have, or you can use red and yellow, which is going to give you orange in the center. It also works really well with analogous colors. So one of my favorites to do is to use blue and then a blue-green and then a green. You get a really nice looking kind of fade from blue to green when you do that. And you can do that with lots of different sets of analogous colors to get a beautiful result. This also works with stamps. So if you don't have a BetterPress system, don't have any press plates, you can do this exact same thing with stamps and you're going to get this lovely blended result as well. Next, I'm coming in here with some Jet Black Fresh Dye ink from Altenew. This is an alcohol marker friendly ink. It's water-based dye ink, so it works really well with alcohol markers. And I'm going to stamp out this floral stamp here. This is also from the Kaleidoscope Arch Sentiment stamps. And so this is going to go at the bottom of our two-piece arch piece. You'll see in a moment. But I'm going to cut that out with the coordinating die. And then I've just done some really quick coloring here on the main flower and the two smaller flowers. You'll see later I'm going to add some more color to the leaves because I decided that it was too plain. Now that Stitched Kaleidoscope Arch die set, it has a couple of dies that you can use in order to do some layering along the edges of these arch pieces. So you can see I've cut two of that piece out in blue, and then there's even another die that makes a different sized shape. Hopefully that is making sense, but you could layer it as well so you could see an additional two colors beyond whatever your arch color is. So it's kind of a fun and innovative set. Here I just did the blue and I'm gluing those die cuts back behind the edge of that arch. So now you see that peak of blue through on that arch. I'm going to repeat the process with the other arch, but first here I'm going to go ahead and stamp the thanks sentiment. I'm going to die cut that and I'm going to stamp my little sub sentiment, which is for everything. I'll cut that with the banner die and then I can glue the two arch pieces together. You can see there I've added that blue on that one at the bottom as well. So you just run your glue along the center and then you line them up and then that's going to give you your full piece. On this one, I pop the middle banner up with foam tape again. Again, dimension, it just adds a lot to a card. Now we can go ahead and put the whole card together. So I'm going to go ahead and glue our beautiful floral panel that was from the BetterPress, and I'm going to glue that to an A2 size card. I did cut this down slightly so that there's about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, which looks nice. And then I've popped up that whole arch piece again with some foam tape to give it some more dimension there. And here you see I'm coming in with some more alcohol ink markers just to finish out the floral. And then I added a little bit of bling. So there is our second card. I hope you guys picked up some tips and tricks today on how to make your backgrounds really pop. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that I can continue to bring you more crafty content in the future. Until next time, everyone, happy crafting.